Hey everybody, today we're going to work with charcoal and our white colored pencils, and we're going to draw a tiger. This is our picture we'll be working with. They'll be included in the package I emailed to you. Play around with it, have some fun, make a mess, get messy, and I look forward to seeing what you do. For this week we're going to draw with our charcoal. You should have a little stick, something like this in your box. If you happen to have a charcoal pencil like this at home, that's great too. I think I gave you a piece of white chalk. This is just regular school chalk. You can get, this is relatively inexpensive and comes with a bunch of it. And if you have, you can also use your white colored pencil from your kits. And you'll need just a plain pencil, and your white vinyl eraser, and your kneaded eraser. You will also probably want to have some sort of paper towel. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're just going to sketch this out in pencil, and we're going to start with the basic shape of the tiger's head, which is this big round shape. Okay, and you want to keep this kind of light. We're going to start with our pencil, not our charcoal. You want to keep this kind of light so we can cover it up with our charcoal. And so there's the round shape for his head. Now I'm coming in and I'm starting to do the little boxy shape for his muzzle and his chin here. And so his center line of his face is turned. Okay, it's kind of 3/4, so you want this side to be bigger, this side to be smaller. His eye line wraps through here, a little bit less than halfway down his head. And he has some ears. The ear on this side is kind of this rounded triangular shape. And there's a little bit of tuft of hair in here that kind of fills in the gap between the ear and his head. This, and it's set on the back edge of his head. On this side, because he's turned towards us, the ear is set inside the head, so it'll start here, and then it's just kind of this circular shape that comes up like this. If you look on our reference photo, they're pretty much the same height, so you want to make sure that however tall this one is, this one's the same. You can adjust that a little bit later if you think you made them too big or too small. So that comes down like this, and then his fur kind of wraps around in front of that. Okay, and let's place his nose. Now his nose is really actually very close to this part of his lip. So we're going to come up from there just a little bit, and then we're going to start with just a basic triangular shape that kind of goes like this, and then we're going to come back and we're going to round inside of that for his nostril, and then it kind of comes like this. It almost makes like a weird kind of rounded T shape, and it comes back down. Center line comes up through his nose like that, and then this dark area extends out kind of like that, and then back down. And on this side we don't see as much of it because he's turned away from us there, and then we're going to come back and we're going to indicate the shape here and the shape on this side, and that kind of comes up like this, comes back out, and curves up into his head. This side we're going to come down like this, and this comes out. It's that little flare of fur that he has there that comes down like this, and we're going to follow this stripe down. So we're going to follow the inside edge of that stripe, and that goes like this, it comes down, and it frames his jawline. So his jawline comes in somewhere in here. And we're going to find where his eye should be now. So we've got that indicator where the eye line should be. And then we're going to draw up from the corner of his nose upwards. So this side, this eye lines up with this corner. So we can just kind of take a light line and come up and draw the shape of the eye. And he's got those dark lines around his eyes. We don't want to forget about those as we're drawing. And his pupil is here. So you can indicate those dark lines now if you want to, just a little bit. Don't shade with your pencil. If you shade with your pencil, your charcoal will kind of want to skid around on top of that. So this eye is over like this. We come up from the nose. That's the corner there. So his eye actually comes up like this. And this eye isn't quite as round as the other one because the sunlight's coming in from this side. So it's a little bit squintier. And his pupil is there. Okay. And this is going to be a little bit fuller. This can actually come down a little bit more here. So right now he's kind of looking a little more like a mountain lion because we haven't really given that big ruffle of fur around the outside here yet. His neck comes down like this into his shoulder. And this side feels like it needs to be a little bit further out. And then that comes down like this. And there's a stripe that goes in here. There's one here. There's one here. There's one that kind of comes like this, like a little check mark. And then there's this one that comes all the way up here. Kind of a fork there. This comes out like this. And we're going to take out some of these finding lines now. I'll leave a little bit of the center one in here for right now to help me figure out where some of these stripes go. And I'm just going to kind of outline those really quickly. They don't have to be perfect. It's just to help as a guide to know where some of those go later. So now he's starting to look more tiger-like because we're getting in those stripes. So if you remember, we did a koala with charcoal before, and he didn't have quite as many details. So with this one we want to take our time, go a little bit slower, and you want to be using that the colored paper that I included in your kit. That will take up some of the values for you. We're not going to worry about the whiskers now. We'll worry about that at the end. But we do want to get these little spots in here where the whiskers kind of go. I'm going to draw a line to guide me on those first. And then I'm going to start kind of putting these in here real quick. Remember, draw lightly. This all is just a guide. And we'll back up here. This stripe comes like this. There's another one over here. And I think I'm going to raise the top of his head up just a little bit. Comes to a little bit of a peak in the middle there. There's a little white spot on his ear here. This side, something like that. And he's got this big stripe here. That kind of goes back into that one. Comes up his face. There's a couple through here. And this big one that starts up here comes down and comes under his chin here. Okay, so that should be enough to get us started. And we're going to start by just kind of taking a little bit and to the background here, just lightly. I'm using the side of my charcoal. And I'm putting just a little bit in where I want some shadow. Don't use a lot of pressure, just kind of keep a light hand down here. And we're just going to kind of put it in some spots. I'll frame this edge a little bit through here. And you can either use your finger or a paper towel and just kind of rub that into the paper. Roll that down here. If you smudge over that and you lose a little bit of your drawing, that's okay. Alright, so we're going to come in and I'm going to get the eyes in right away. So I'm using the corner of my piece of charcoal and I'm just going to kind of start drawing a little bit. If you're right-handed, it's a good idea to start on the left side of your paper. If you're left-handed, it's a good idea to start on the right. I kind of started on the wrong side here, so I'll have to be careful I don't smudge things too much. If you happen to have a blending stub, go ahead and use it. You can make one. I think I covered that in one of the other videos. If not, look in the elephant video that I posted on YouTube. I show you how to make one in there. You basically just want to roll up a piece of drawing paper and roll it up tight and then put a piece of tape on it. And once you get it a little bit dirty, you can use that to color and shade with also. You don't always have to use your piece of charcoal. If you like, you can make a little area on a scrap piece of paper and just pick some up from there and lay that down. And remember, we want the color of the paper to come through and act as a color, or value, I should say, in our drawings. So he's got this nice cast shadow that kind of comes down his face here, like this. And it comes down this side a little bit too. It fades out. So it kind of frames his nose a little bit. You know, drawing with this little square of charcoal is a little bit difficult, but if you're careful, you can make it work. If you need to, if you need a nice sharp edge, go ahead and snap it. You know, break it in two, or break a piece off the end, and that will give you a nice, clean, sharp edge to work with. And the idea is we kind of want to feel like he's kind of emerging out of the paper here. I'm just going to kind of go around and I'm going to establish some of these darker values and use those as a gauge for the rest of it. And it's okay if you don't get every stripe in exactly the same place. And don't feel like you have to put them all in there either. Sometimes it's better to leave one out than to try to squeeze it all in there. Try to use some of the background values to kind of frame your subject. The technical term for that is called a vignette. Where'd my little blending stub go? Let's use that again. You know, don't forget you can draw with that blending stub. I took this photo years ago at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. It's one of the tigers from our zoo. It's a nice sunny day, and he was relaxing in his enclosure there, soaking up the sun. Let's come up here and get a few of these in. This one here, this big stripe here, comes up. There's the one by his eye, and then there's this one that comes down like this, and curves back up into here, and it kind of trails off down this way. And there's the one that comes from way up here. Gets kind of wide through there, tapers out a little bit here, actually kind of connects with that one just slightly, and it gets a nice triangular shape down through here. So I'm going to come back now, and I'm going to erase out, there's still a couple finding lines in here I want to get rid of. Take those out. And I'm going to start to put in some of these whites. This is our colored pencil. If you've got a piece of chalk, you can use a piece of chalk. Just be careful as you work back and forth. You don't want to mix those together too much with the charcoal. It starts to go a little bit gray. Sometimes you need to. Just try not to do that initially, and then you can build it up more gradually later. Like here, I need a little bit through here. There. You can smudge that too. And let it be kind of rough initially. You can always come back with your blending stub or your finger and clean some of this up. Okay, so he's looking pretty good. What I want to do now is I want to come back with that blending stub or a rolled up piece of paper towel even, and just kind of come back in here and draw a little bit more with that stub, blend some of these areas together. Remember, you're drawing with kind of blunt objects. You can't get these as sharp as you would like a pencil. So your forms are going to be, and your lines are going to be more thicker and bolder. But you can use that to your advantage. You can come in here and accentuate some of these lines to give you the feeling that you would get by doing more controlled shading with a smaller, sharper tool. And just kind of have fun with it. I know it's messy. I know a couple of you don't like messy, but it washes off. And it's kind of fun to play around with. If you ever have a campfire, after the fire is burned out, like the next day, you can use some of the pieces of charcoal that are left over from your campfire, from the wood that's burned in your campfire, to draw with too. And because those are usually big chunky pieces, you want to tend to draw big with those and just kind of play with them and have some fun. And people will be really impressed that you were able to draw with a piece of charcoal from a campfire. Could be your adventures into cave painting. And dirty that light up just a little bit to make that more of a shadow. Come back and pick out just a few highlights now. And I think I want to do a little more up here. And we're going to come back with our eraser and draw a little bit with our eraser. So now we're going to take our colored pencil and we're going to get in here and we're going to make some little finer adjustments to those whites. Kind of clean up some of the edges a little bit. You have to push fairly hard because it doesn't want to go over top of the charcoal real well, so you have to push a little bit harder. Keep adjusting your values. Some of them are going to get lost, so you want to come back and restate those a little bit. And some of this up here needs to go into shadow. I think it's almost time to give him some whiskers. And I'm going to push real hard and I'm going to try to do these in one stroke. So there's one. And you'd never want to put as many whiskers on your subject as you see. They attract too much attention because it's just lines that make detail. And I think I'll turn this a little bit, make it a little bit fuzzier on this edge. He's got some long kind of eyebrow hairs. They're showing up out here. And maybe a little of that long hair kind of through here. So if you like this when you're done, one of the things you can do is you can use some hairspray, just some cheap hairspray to seal this so it doesn't make a big mess everywhere. There's actually some things that are made for that, but usually everybody has some sort of hairspray hanging around somewhere, and it works fine. Back when I was in school, we used to use Aqua Net, so you could always ask your parents to get you some Aqua Net. at the store, and they'll probably look at you funny because they probably haven't heard anybody talk about Aquanet in a long time. I think I'm just going to smudge the background a little bit more here, and probably be pretty close to done. I might want just a little bit more value back here. Until it doesn't go quite as far when I do it with my finger. It goes a little bit further when I use the paper towel. It kind of gets stuck in my finger there and doesn't go very far. Smudge this down here a little bit more. And I think I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and I'm going to kind of draw back into here and lift some of that out. Maybe a little through here. Don't forget, you can draw with your eraser as much as you draw with your pencils. Okay, it's another good tool to use. And I think I'm going to call this one done. Okay. So that was drawing a tiger in charcoal. Give it a try, see what you think. As always, I'd love to see anything that you come up with. Hope to see you soon.